We're back again for another installment of another edition of another episode of Who This Been Watching, which means that I saw another movie and or TV show which has been given away in the title or the pinned comment if you take enough attention to notice what I put there to see what we're going to be talking, what I'm going to be talking about today and what you'll be doing by joining me in the comments, commenting away and whatever you felt about the film. You liked it, you didn't like it, whatever you got to add on. It's all right here because you know me from Something Spectacular. I get that. I'm Who This, the host of that as well, Something Spectacular, on all DSPs, streaming platforms, wherever you get your podcast from. Something Spic, S-P-I-C, purposely misspelled to emphasize the excellence in the minority, which is me, embodying that. Something Spectacular. Again, all DSPs, all platforms, wherever you get your podcast from. And most importantly, please, I ask you kindly, if you can, and find the time to do so, why not hit the subscribe button? Like the video, comment on it, share it, forward it, whatever you got to do on the YouTube. YouTube.com/whothisis1. 2 S's in this, so Who This Is One. Number 1 at the end. So, and that's also my tag / name from now on wherever I go, because obviously everybody likes to be clever, or not everybody, but a lot of somebodies decided to be clever enough and beat me to the punch as far as getting Who This as a tag or name on all available platforms, even Twitter, IG, etc., whatever, and got it before I did. So I missed out on that shit. Who This, I mean. So I had to settle for Who This Is One, but mark my fucking words. When I get big enough and afford the platform enough and to get enough power enough to do so, emphasize the fact that I've grown and developed an audience and a following loyally of who follows me and fucks with me, listens and watches and does everything I asked them to do, which is solely going to be ever you watch and listen to the podcast. That's it. I'm not going to make demands. I'm not going to start cults. I'm not going to ask you to drink no certain kind of Kool-Aid or, mass group suicides with me, nothing like that. I don't need your dead body on my conscience or my soul fucking with me for life, or at least mentally, if I'm the one that, I just so happen to live, even though I'm supposed to die along with you dummies and shit. Shout out to Jim Jones. Not Jim Jones Dipset, but Jim Jones, the cult leader. I think he died, right? Did he die with them, or did he go to jail for what he did? I don't remember, to be honest, but obviously not my time, before my time of even existing or being alive, better get said. But none of that funny shit going on here. No occultness, no nothing. It's not Halloween no more, so there's not even that excuse anymore. Forgive my torn heart. See, I gave so much of my heart. It should be more on the left, but I gave so much of my heart and my essence to you out there via Something Spectacular. I have nothing left. I got a gaping hole here where my heart used to be. What was that song? Was that Omarion? Icebox where my heart used to be? Kind of like that, but not as corny or implied as an icebox would be, which is bittersweet, I guess. But yeah, point is, that's Something Spectacular. I'm the host of that too. But right now, I decided to take it upon myself to start a new thing called, which is this, of course, what you're watching live on IG as I announce in the stories, and thank you for joining me if you have right now. Of course, one of my favorites here, she.a.leo, has joined the chat. And, feel free to add, chime into whatever you got to do, whatever you want to contribute. As far as today's film we're going to be discussing on Who This Been Watching. Again, Who This Been Watching, what I've seen as far as a movie, a TV show, whatever. I try to focus on films and or whatever has coming up, an anniversary of some sort, just like today's. So right now, it's not your typical review show where, I feel this is a good movie because, I really enjoyed it because my mom will be proud of me for knowing I saw this movie, even if I have to tell her I didn't see it with her, whatever. No cuck talk like that. No. Talk about the movie in the podcast form, like Something Spectacular. If you don't know, you'll be introduced informally to the podcast via this right now, Who This Been Watching. I guess you could call it another podcast, but this is movie, TV, podcast talk. That's all it is. Real shit over here. None of that funny business. But right now, we're talking about 30 years since Christmas, at least, specifically. 30 years since the release of Kindergarten Cop. Now listen, you might ask, you might wonder of all things, or you might put two and two together and realize maybe that's why I wear stupid things like this. This, of course, has an explanation, which is mostly due to being an Amazon Prime member. I was up too late one time. Exactly, it's not a tuma. I was up late one night buying essential supplies and products, as Amazon Prime is good for. 2-day turnaround time is excellent for almost everything. There's the random little 10% of things you can't get with 2-day shipping, but China has to stay alive too. So we got to make sure they're well taken care of, at least directly from our pockets, it seems like, even though there's way more of them than there is of us. Amazon is the GOAT. Yes, greatest of all time. But yeah, let's get back to the point at hand. So Kindergarten Cop stars Arnold Schwarzenegger. Listen, 30 years later, I feel that, most reviews will tell you at the very end how they feel. I'll tell you up front. I'm guilty of watching this movie. Whenever it's on, I gotta watch it. It's, other words, good. Now, usually, I deem that a guilty pleasure, just because there's some bad movies that have good scenes in it, or good parts that if I know kind of roughly, I remember when this is coming up, so I'll stick around with it. Or I'll come back to it, watch something else, and then, all right, I'll come back to this when I know that part's coming up, kind of thing. It's a whole kind of weeble wobble thing with me. But I am more guilty of that. I give bad movies the opportunity to prove themselves, unless they confirm at the very end, overall, they were bad and I wasted my time. That does happen a lot too, unfortunately. And who knows? Everybody's got different tastes. But Kindergarten Cop isn't the case in this case. Well, cop talk, police talk, obviously. Kindergarten Cop, I think, is actually very good. So good, I'd say it's overall funny. It does its job as a comedy. I laughed throughout. The sidekick, the redhead lady, I believe her name is Pamela Reed in real life. She is pretty funny. She's the comic relief. Kind of reminds me of the, like John Belushi-esque energy kind of thing. She's like, she can't curse, obviously, because it's supposed to be family-oriented, a kids movie at the end of the day. She can't start cursing up a storm around kids either, since she's originally supposed to be the substitute teacher, but then he ends up being the substitute because she gets a stomach flu. But I get that sense of energy from her, and I like it. She's actually funny. She's not overdoing it or fed corny lines. So they did a good job, I feel, with the script, with the main script, whatever they had going on there too. Arnold does his part well too, as, we know him to be the Terminator and everything else he's ever done too as well. I read somewhere that he got the director off his own strength. He picked the director for, exactly. So Pamela Reed, we got love for her. It's a mutual over here. It's a three-way. But emotionally, let's keep it that way. No need to get our hands dirty. We need to socially distance. And Pamela Reed might be way older than us, considered 30 years removed. So no offense to her. I'm sure she's still all right looking, but 30 years. Okay, so what was I getting to? Oh yeah, so the director. I think he does a good job too with everything getting laid out, panned out. Arnold has a lot of involvement, as I've read up on the movie, and confirmed otherwise too. Let's just take it at its words. 1990, the internet was around, but it wasn't around like how we use it nowadays too. So, information could be tampered with or taken out of context or made into fluff pieces to be more convenient to whatever the intent is or underlying tone would be. But listen, Kindergarten Cop, I like it. It's from 1990, 30 years now. Basically about a cop. He's undercover. He's used to dealing with scumbags. He's used to dealing with drug dealers, deadbeats, all that stuff too. He's, of course, a white cop. Or another thing too we'll bring up. He's a white cop, quote unquote. I say that, but he's more of an ethnic white cop. Which I'm proud that Kindergarten Cop does one thing right. And it alludes to the fact that Arnold ain't shy about it. They actually address his accent. Because I always had a problem. Now listen, not with Kindergarten Cop, because I was 5 years old when I was out in 1990. I was a child once, as these children were too, and we were about the same age too. They're in a whole fucking big ass movie though, at 6 years old. I'm at home, not even knowing Kindergarten Cop exists, because, you know, my mom's that Spanish. She don't take me to the movie theaters when I'm that young because she thinks I can't comprehend what a movie is at that age. Maybe she was right. Maybe she didn't realize I was watching wrestling anyway, and I already been involved heavily with that. So I think I can handle a movie, especially, well, okay, PG-13, whatever, but it wasn't even that bad. Come on. It's like they say ass and bitch a couple times. And okay, somebody gets shot, and then you see like a couple of packets of ketchup squirt out of them. And that's it. But what else is there new about that, right? 1990. We can't really like have blood and gore. Okay, never mind. That's just the neighbor. It's nothing to be like this about, better yet said. That's the point I'm trying to make here. But they did address his accent. There's a part, I think I got the timestamp here somewhere. Okay, if you watch it, wherever you watch it, streaming on, 44 minutes in. They go to a restaurant. I forget her name, but Pamela Reed. And they meet up with the pretty teacher. Of course, she's blonde and white as well. And the young kid, Dominic. I'd say he's a nice kid, but I was surprised there was twins playing the one kid. So maybe they both sucked as actors. And maybe one was more lively than the other, or one was feeding lines to one another back and forth. Who knows? Twins playing one kid. Hopefully that didn't create too much confusion or conflict for Arnold. But in that scene in that restaurant, the sidekick pretends to be, I think it was German or one of those. She fakes an accent like that too because the kid brings it up. And she pretends to be his sister from, I think, Germany. That's what they end up saying, because he does speak German at some point. Not Austrian, German. He doesn't allude to the accent himself. He doesn't like drop his guard and start talking blah, 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 however German sounds. She does and plays it heavily, but not corny, not unfunny either. It's actually funny. It's a very charming scene overall, too. She plays it well. Olga, I think she named herself. But it's funny they actually addressed that, because my whole other issue was always with one of my favorites growing up as an action film star, and who I talked about and focused on the episode before last, episode number 2 of Who This Been Watching, Jean-Claude Van Damme in Sudden Death. Now again, Sudden Death is a film of the many he's done, Jean-Claude Van Damme, I mean, of course, that's easily forgettable. It's not a great movie. Okay, let me rephrase that. It's not a good movie. It's meh, leaning towards bad. But I'm a Jean-Claude Van Damme fan. I always have been, so I might be guilty of eventually watching that again just to be like, you know what? There is that one fight scene of him and a lady in the Penguin mascot suit where he's getting his ass kicked most of the time. I might give that part a chance again, just for the sake of. Otherwise, it's too long a movie and too like dragged out to make any sort of sense. My issue with Jean-Claude Van Damme was, as much as a fan as I was of him, and also because I was a martial arts junkie growing up, besides wrestling as well, he always had the heaviest, I believe, of the accents as far as the foreign action stars are. Because Sylvester Stallone kind of counts too, because he does talk kind of dopey like Rocky does in real life. I think as time has passed and he's taken himself more seriously with film and directing and having more of a direct involvement in what he does, he might have actually tried to maybe, he took himself to the side and said, you know what, maybe I got to talk a little bit smart instead of like a dumbass, or coming off as such, even in regular talk. So he did improve over time, but he's still like an asterisk in that kind of category of like weird sounding lead action male stars. Arnold has that too, of course. Arnold, Tuma, and whatever else he says, stop it, or all the other shit he says throughout the movie. It's very sprinkled in. It's obvious, painfully, at most times. I forget the other word he says besides, it's before the Tuma part. He says it, and it's like, it's painfully obvious. Like, there's no way this man is named John Kimball, or he's going to pass as such. So it kind of psychs me out, like, and I don't mean this in a racist way, but I don't know if anyone else has it. When you see someone, I know there's a cultural thing that goes with it too, with them specifically, but Asian people, I think more specifically Chinese, depending on who you encounter, they have the ones that give themselves American names, and understandably so, just because you can't pronounce their actual names, like XJZ I colon slash, whatever, punctuation mark. In Chinese, of course. But then they name themselves Jim Chang or something like that. Doesn't make sense. I don't understand it. I know there's a whole thing behind it as well, assimilation and like preventing bullying, I guess, growing up too. That makes sense. But it always kind of sets me back like, wait a second. You're not a Jimmy. Not at all. But again, it is addressed at least finally, because they never did that with Jean-Claude, and they really should have. And I know Jean-Claude, as far as the stories that's been told about him, he kind of seems like he might have been a dick. Maybe not on the scale of, let's say, Tom Cruise, who, if anyone saw recently, he got really mad at people for not, I think, socially distancing or not like being prevented of themselves on a set of something recently. It was like in the news somewhere, like yelling at people because, of course, Napoleon complex. He has to wear lifts to like even be considered a short guy. Otherwise, he's a word I can't use anymore because it offends that community of shorter people, I guess 5'5" and under. So of course he's going to be angry and bitter and try to throw his weight around per se. Is he a Hollywood A-lister? Cruise? I'd say so. Yeah, Tom Cruise is an A-lister. He's been around so long too. He's kind of like a household name, I guess you'd call it. So okay, he gets that. He gets that pass. But Jean-Claude Van Damme never had that addressed, and I would believe because he never wanted it brought up. He wanted to be passed off as in Bloodsport, Frank Dukes. Of all things, painfully obvious with him. Like, come on, son. Really? Is fucking Street Fighter. If you ever watched that, if anyone too wants to comment or suggest Street Fighter, I'm not sure when the anniversary for that's coming up. It might have passed actually. I will do that one gladly one day, maybe even randomly, because that's a bad movie. But I can't help but go back to it for some reason. Jean-Claude Van Damme plays, is he Air Force or what is he exactly, the character Guile from Street Fighter? I forget. But he's a good old American boy, pretty much. Down to the buzz cut with the wide sides, haircut, whatever. Supercuts hasn't been doing that well during the pandemic either, obviously, but even before that, they were terrible. I know because I went to them one time, and, well, don't trust Spanish hair with a white set of hands, I mean. But he's supposed to be Guile in that, and he has his accent predominantly throughout the whole fucking movie. So that's Jean-Claude Van Damme. I know he's never had the dress, but at least Arnold was courteous enough to play around with that, become a punchline because of it. So it is fine too. It's not like it's completely mishmash or mumbled in a foreign language. We can understand him, but it's just like keywords sometimes, like Jean-Claude. And the last one I did, Sudden Death, Colonel Guile, yes, thank you, Shia Leo. And the last one I did, Sudden Death with Jean-Claude, there's 3 times within the same span of like 10 seconds, he's a soda, like he does. Because he's got a funny accent. Arnold has a rougher sounding accent. Jean-Claude has legit a funnier accent because it's so exaggerated too. I don't know if he puts it on, if it helps out to him. Oh yeah, shout out to Kylie Minogue. She was Cammy in Street Fighter 2. Yeah, that was I don't know if she showed an ass or at least a thong scene, but Street Fighter to the mainstream, I don't think they would, unless it was R-rated if they were remaking that. But and I always had a crush on Kylie Minogue too, so I think that was my very first introduction to her early on. So a very young Kylie Minogue, nice. But yeah, Jean-Claude always had like the funnier sounding accent because again, like in the span of like 15 seconds, he says soda, 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 repeatedly. Yes, R.I.P. Raul Julia. Yes, but that's Jean-Claude. At least Arnold was adult, man enough to actually address his accent, which is good. And it's done in of all things a comedy, because in an action film, I would have liked to have had that brought up more too as well. That would have been convenient enough to be like, okay, you got a white name, you can't pass as such, obviously, so where are you from, pal? Or buddy, or whatever you gotta refer to them as. The foreign people. It's all right. They need opportunities too. A big muscle-bound allegedly steroided up man like Arnold was needs a chance too to showcase his muscles and flex on us like that too. I mean, he's been out of shape now for a couple of years because, 60 and genetics and all that stuff too. Gravity is very unforgiving to musculature, so that happens as well. What's going on, Nitro? Peace to you, bro. It's my friend who's a wrestler. Oh yeah, shout outs to my friend, the Wrestler podcast I do with that guy right there, actually, the real _ Super Nitro. All the wrestling fans that join us too at any point, feel free to hit him up. He's an indie darling as far as the wrestling world is concerned, meaning he's very well loved and esteemed in that business realm. So yeah, shout outs to you. But yeah, going back to the point at hand, Kindergarten Cop, what else? Listen, I liked that there's a part where I'll bring this up to debate later on at the very end, and let's see who agrees, who might be on the same page as I am, because I think I got something worth raising some ears about as far as concern is concerned. Arnold yells out loudly when he deals with the class for the first time, the first day of. He runs out the building, front door of, bursts through, and screams out, "Ah!" in, the Arnold sounding voice. I'm not going to do it because then, I sound like a moose, either that's too horny or got hit in the head too hard, and I just let out a bellow. So you don't need to hear me sound like that. This is as far as I got to go. Ranting and bitching, let's leave it at that. But he goes out, bursts out the front door, and he screams, "Ah!" as I'm sure all of us would. Parents or not, if you had to deal with a gang of and I call them a gang because they're that vicious, a gang of 10 or more 6-year-olds, all at the same time. They're rambunctious. Thank God for diversity because, all colors and skin tones were represented in the class. Surprisingly, in 1990, white, black, there's there was a stereotype of the one Spanish kid who only speaks Spanish, but somehow they understand English, but they speak no English in return. But okay, thanks, Hollywood. I understand that. But I'm also not going to call the kid Latinx because it didn't apply then, and I don't feel, as a Latino, Hispanic, whatever, it doesn't apply now. It's a cuck word. I hate Latinx. It's such a stupid term. We don't need it. We don't need to be consented to or, as you would say in Spanish, apapachado. I don't need that. I stopped sucking my mom's tit, when I was like 2 or 3 at least. I stopped as soon as I got the chance. Just like I stopped getting my ass wiped from her from as early as I can remember. I wanted to be in charge of my own ass cleaning. I'm a man. I can do that on my own. I like privacy. I respect that above all else. And I respect yours as well as mine. So I did that as soon as I could. I took charge. I was my own little man at a young age. Cooking is another story. I had to cook because I had no choice because of work. I had to learn because of the jobs I had before. I worked for the health insurance company I work for now. That's a whole nother story too. That's more personal dilemma, life, whatever. But okay. You wonder if, with Arnold screaming as loud as he did, was that him actually screaming or was that dubbed in because it was a very good, convincing yell? I mean, besides the fact dealing with a gang of children. 6-year-olds are always out of hand. Maybe nowadays not so much because, actually maybe nowadays with the new crop and batch of parents that are raising, I hate to say it, but the cucks are nowadays. Not all. Most, some, let's say. And I hate to assume, but the way the kids are being raised today, I'm sure they might not be as rambunctious or overly active or even like hectic to deal with like these kids were in the movies. He straightens them out, of course, but I wonder if now the kids today will be more annoying in just being passively aggressive or demanding that you address them as him, her, it, she is, or, kids are young, so they maybe don't understand gender that well yet. So, Mr. Kimball, could you please address me as I identify as a stegosaurus? So, because that's my favorite dinosaur, and I feel like if the world would have gave them a chance, they would have lived till now, and we'd be able to have one as pets, and I'd have one too in my backyard. So they're cool. I want to identify as such. And then, do you tell the kid no nowadays? I don't think you can, because then they run home and tell their most likely vegan, CrossFit training parents whenever time permits, because they got time for that in their schedule of all things, instead of, maybe laying down the law on the child when they act up. I wish I could say Toys R Us, but that's been out of business. Wherever you take a child to, I don't know, Trader Joe's or something like that, because you got to get your organically washed by Mexican hands broccoli, imported from, of all places, Mexico. But then the irony in life, right? It gets brought in from Mexico, and then it's Mexican hands working and washing and picking it and whatever, and it's right there, your whitewash store, but it's Mexican washed. But okay, that's also getting racial. Forgive me for that. But I do like that he may have actually yelled. So does that allude to maybe, perhaps, just maybe, just let's think outside the box here. We get it. Big, strong man, played all the roles he's played convincingly. I'd say pretty well. Terminator, Conan. I think Twins was the other comedy he did right before this one too as well, and all that. Is Arnold, I'll bring this up now, fuck it. Is Arnold amongst that group of, Sly Stallone? Who was the other one? I always forget his name. The one who became a cop in New Orleans in real life, but got so fat he couldn't run down no criminals no more. Steven Seagal. There we go. Karate Man with the fucking taking out a whole African Congo army with AK-47s and rocket launchers, with just twisting their fingers back a little bit and just putting pressure on them via the points. Steven Seagal, Jean-Claude. Who else was the action star back when? Oh, Bruce Willis, Harrison Ford. I don't know. Whoever else you could think of at that time was, shout out to Eddie the Tech. Much love to him. Whoever else you could think of that was an action star at that time, coexisting with Arnold on the big screen in movies and such. I want to say, debate if we must, bring up your points if you have to, all open here, open platform, feel free, don't be shy, whoever's out there. I feel Arnold might have been the best actor, and I use that term loosely, the best actor amongst all of them as I named, or anyone else you could think of. Okay, there's Harrison Ford. Okay, there's what's the old actor's name? Gran Torino. The director guy, $1 Million Baby, Clint Eastwood. Right. There's them. Again, whoever else you could think of. Tom Cruise, even though he's a tiny man and tiny angry man. Maybe me if I was like 5 inches shorter, I guess angry like that, but okay. I want to say Arnold's the most diverse and probably the best actor out of all of them, because he tried, and also he tried to diversify in every role he did. Oh, okay. A new element to this one, at least to this episode. We got a guest that wants to join in.
First, I would like to just get to know you. Ha 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 ha. Quiet. I want to ask you a bunch of questions, and I want to have them answered immediately.
Boys have a penis, girls have a vagina.
Thanks for the tip.
Alrighty.
What's up?
What's going
So
on,
you're
bro?
talking about Kindergarten Cop? I got the vid, and I have to quarantine, and
Oh, shit, wow.
I'm bored. So let's
Oh,
talk.
goddamn. Did you just get it, or when did you get diagnosed with it?
I got tested yesterday,
Shit.
but like my symptoms started happening on Wednesday. But luckily, I was like home. I did see people on Tuesday, but I'm just like hoping that they're good. I'm pretty sure they're fine. I wore my mask like all day or whatever that Tuesday. And any time actually I chill with people. But yeah, no, I'm fine. I feel fine. My nose and like
Good.
I can't smell, but like my sinuses kind of suck right now, but besides that I don't feel like anything's like I don't feel like I'm gonna die or anything.
Well,
But
God forbid. Yeah, God forbid.
word, Kindergarten Cop. I
Yes,
haven't seen
yes,
that
sir.
movie in so long. And what were you talking about? co-star or no star action movie stars
of the same time as Arnold's existence, like when he was on top of the world, Betty had said.
during
Is he
the
the
early
best?
90s?
Yeah, early 90s, mid 90s, because, he had a long run. But of that group of actors in the action film category, I feel, and anyone else joining us too, let's see what Eddie has to say, of course. I feel Arnold or Arnold might have been the best actor, again, loosely using the term, of
I
them
feel
all.
like he's the most versatile, definitely,
Yes.
from what you were explaining before. He did what was the other movie? Jingle All the Way. That was like a family
That was a good
movie.
one.
That was like um I haven't seen that in a really long time too, but I love that movie. And um yeah, versatility. um Trying to
Because I
think of
was because I was reading up on Arnold too right before the movie, of course, and I did read that this one, along with a lot of other ones, he actually improvised a lot of his lines.
whoa, cool. I didn't know that.
So, I mean, to do that, I mean, that's kind of commendable, even if it
Right.
is Arnold of all people.
Because you have to learn the culture, like being an immigrant. You have to, or yeah, an immigrant. You have to kind of like learn the culture and um know mannerisms or like ways of that Americans would speak because that's how that's who he's portraying, right? Like a father, or not a father, but wait, what was he? Is he a stepfather in that movie?
No,
Or
he's a dad, but the mom took the kid away, I
right,
guess, because she was tired of him being exposed to dying at any point because of being a cop and such.
right, okay, word, yeah. Go, yeah, sorry, go on,
No,
continue.
no, you're fine. You're fine.
I don't know.
I mean, you got him here as a kindergarten cop, of course, title implied, doing that well, I'd say. You know, Terminator course, stuff like that, more in that realm. Commando. Uh, what was the other one with the alien? Was it Alien or Predator? Or Predator, right? I think
Predator. Come on,
Predator.
kill me. Come on.
The
Do
Chopper.
it. Huh?
Yeah, all the
Yeah.
movies right there. Of course, he did like the same realm of action, big, strong, aggressive man having to get the job done and all that stuff too.
Last action.
Last Action Hero, yeah, that
Actually,
was
I
right
need to
after this
watch
one.
that movie. I've heard so much shit about that movie, and I haven't watched it yet. I suck for it. I feel terrible. What's the premise? Do you know? Can you tell me?
Of Last Action Hero. I think he was a.
Is he a stunt man in that movie?
I think he's like in. I know the movie's about making fun of or making light of the whole action movie realm.
Oh,
So I think he's a take on all the other films that existed to that point. But I forget if he's like a world the kid made up in his head or the
mm-hmm.
kid's like warped into the. The 90s was big on that. Like
Right.
transporting into other places you don't actually exist in because, white kids got nothing else to do but imagine shit all day.
Oh,
Because of ADD and shit. Or sorry,
oh,
ADHD, whatever they had, diagnosed with to get pills for.
twins.
Twins was good too. Yeah,
That was a
Danny
good ass
DeVito.
movie.
Yeah.
I was not expecting it to be as like decent as it was when I first watched it, but it was pretty good. I wasn't
Because
let down by that one.
yeah, and I guess unless you can point out something I'm not thinking of right now, I think it's safe to say Arnold really didn't have any trash movies or really bad movies, let's say.
Yeah,
Everybody else
right.
kind of did.
That's true. Yeah.
Maybe early on, the early stuff before it became a star, maybe that wasn't so good, but I can't even think of those.
Yeah, I gotta look up his just I almost said discography. Um uh Filmography or whatever the fuck. Cause one of the first things he did was Conan, right?
Yeah, very first almost, I think.
But what was after that and what was before that?
I think right after Conan, I think one of the biggest thing might have been Terminator. I he did some sort of Hercules, I think. I don't remember what kind or what version of it. And then, of course, Terminator 2. There was this one, Commando, Predator, all that stuff too. So he had a really good run after that, after Conan.
Hi, Rob.
Oh, yeah, we got Rob in the building. Or I always read that as Titty Wave, but it's Field A Wave.
Yeah, right.
Underscore.
You want to know a funny story about Conan?
Yeah.
So I was at I'm confessing to a crime. Not really. But I was at Midtown Comics, right? And I had my bass on me, like super long guitar case.
Mm-hmm.
And I was with this girl, and we were like looking around the store. We go up to the second floor, and I look at this. I'm looking at this Metal Gear Solid figure, and I don't notice it, but there's a Conan the Barbarian figure behind me, like a statue, like a $250 statue. And I put the thing down, like I'm like doing this, putting the thing back up on the shelf. I don't notice, but the top of my guitar case is slowly like pushing the statue. And right when I'm like done and I like turn around, boom! I fucking drop it. I'm like, no way. So I just like, I wanted to be like honest. I'll be like, yo guys, I'll pay for it, like whatever. And they like, the manager comes and like another worker there comes. They just look at me and they're like, damn, you're fine. Just go, man.
Get out of here.
Get out of here. And I was like, oh my God, I'll pay for it. Like, I feel so terrible. I just walked out of there with my head down and like.
Did you ever go back? Or?
I've been back, but that was like.
Did you wait a while?
Yeah, I'd waited like 3 years, I think. I was like, I can't step back in that store. But yeah, I think I waited like 5 years or 3 years, and then I went back. But yeah, I fucking broke out the figure. My son's self-incriminating. I'm calling 911. But yeah, that's Conan Barbarian story for you.
Well, I guess since you were carrying, of all things, your bass, which you're very talented at doing, along your side of yourself, you got Rob. Shout out to him again for joining.
Shout out to Rob.
Also to the Pain, doing this thing with the bass. No, he's a lead guitar, right? I believe, or.
But he's killer at bass.
Oh, he is too. Okay.
Yeah. Ignore the paint chips on the wall.
That's fine. We all need a roof overhead of some sorts, even if it's lead filled. But lead paint. No lead chips, right? For you, ever? Anyone in your family lead chips?
No, I hope not.
Oh, okay, good. Thank God. But since you're a bass player, or better yet said, a musician of that kind, where you got to hold the thing up and whatever.
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself, maybe even Rob can answer, maybe even the Pain, let's just pretend he can answer too as well. And I think this is more up his alley of like the vein of questions I would ask.
Oh, Rob started on bass too. He's very good at that too.
I'm sure Rob's, killer, whatever he does, I'm pretty sure of. Are you guys, or would you consider yourselves to be the best at flicking the clits? Because you got to flick those strings as actively and as progressively as you do, up and down.
I should have expected this question, and
in progression.
I would say yes. I feel like we're all very successful at flicking clits because of the dexterity in our fingers. Yep, you already know.
Fast action, double time with the fingers and all that, the middle of the ring, all that too. And Rob confirmed, thank God, 100% yes. Mm-hmm. I knew it. You know who made me actually think of that too was 2 Chainz, because I forget what song he had on one album, but his little chorus hook was like, I flipped a click like a guitar or something like that. But wait, would they be the best? Would they be the pros?
I think yes, because we have the rhythm, the and the power. I'll say those are 3. Look at that.
Yeah, that's a click going. Ba, 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 ba.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't seen my wife. If I didn't play, have you seen my wife?
If I didn't play drums, this would not be a thing. Very good point.
Yeah, but yeah, man.
Damn.
I feel like yes. That the answer to your question is goddamn right.
That's good to
The
know.
ladies,
Right.
hit my line.
You're always open to the DMs, of course. That's
Open
Eddie
the
Tech.
open DMs.
Don't be shy.
Not right now though, because I got the vid. But yeah, 2 weeks,
Virtually, at least.
1.5 week. Yeah.
Oh, you're right. You got to do the whole self-quarantine and all that.
Yes, sir.
Goddamn. All right. But do you have any more fun? I'd love for you to stick around if you got the time. You know, don't feel like you got to go anything. I've been meaning to get you
talk,
back.
bro.
Yeah. But yeah, I was just bringing up, this is a whole new thing I'm doing again. It's called Who Has Been Watching. It's just movie talk, TV talk, like bullshit, really, like the podcast is.
Have you
I
seen?
just so happen to be talking about a movie, pretty much, with
Are
the
you
excuse of
into?
just. What's
Are you into Star Wars?
Actually, we can get into that now. I'm not. And if you're a fan, hopefully you confirm this. I've been told a lot by other Star Wars fans or fanatics, nerds, whatever, that I got the wrong introduction to Star Wars years ago because I got to see episode 1 for free when that dropped. So that was the bad introduction to it.
In '99?
Yeah, 99. Right.
Cool. Wait, for free? Wow. Cool. Wow.
Well, my mom was on the market and, a white dude tried to step to her and said, you know what, let's all go on a date and all that stuff. And I was playing third wheel at like, 13 years old. So free movie, I'm with it, even if it's Star Wars. So
Cool.
that was my intro to Star Wars. And a lot of people told me that was the wrong intro to Star Wars because, like, I never got curious to see any of them afterwards.
Damn, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, it was all right. So when that movie came out, everybody was super like disappointed because of it just wasn't. It didn't have the magic that the original trilogy had. It was very all over the place. Like, there's a video online talking about how that movie has no plot. It's like, yeah, the premise of the movie is the start of how Anakin was discovered and how he started his journey as a Jedi and later to go on to become Darth Vader. But or the start of that. But if you really watch the movie, you just like, why is this happening? Okay, wait, what? Like, yeah. But
because I know a big thing was Jar Jar Binks. I remember a lot of backlash for that character.
The thing is, with Jar Jar, I feel like the reason why he exists is because George Lucas is the marketing genius, and also because he made Star Wars and made Episode 1 and everything that everything that he does is thought out because he's trying to reach out to kids basically and market to kids, and hardcore fans that grew up with the original trilogy, they don't see that. They want a specific thing, but they're given this other thing that they're just like, what the fuck? So it made sense for marketing, and also like as a kid, I fucking love Jar Jar because I was like 6 when that came out, or 4. No, I was 4 years old when that came out, but I probably like saw it when I was like 5 or 6 because of VHSs and DVDs at the time. But I was definitely like, as a kid, it speaks to you because you're just like, oh fuck, he's funny, oh shit, he's cool, But then when you grow up and you watch the movie, you're just like, this isn't it. This is not it. Like, but Jar Jar was a bad guy the whole time. Stop playing. So there's this theory. I'm talking about this real quick. There's this theory that that Jar Jar is actually a Sith Lord hiding out as like this innocent, like, funny guy, and he's working in secret with Darth Sidious or Senator Palpatine. Fucking, you know who I'm talking about?
Nah.
Yeah, you really haven't seen Star Wars, huh?
That's the only film I saw out of all of them.
Okay, so I mean, basically, Damn, you really got to see the movies to really like understand what I'm talking about, like the theories I'm talking about.
Mm.
But once you see everything, there's this video I'll send you, and
Okay.
it's like evidence throughout the movies of how Jar Jar is secretly a Sith Lord, and
Okay.
he's basically there to allow the steps for Anakin to become Darth Vader. But
Okay. Okay.
theory, but it's a really good theory. But it's just a theory.
Is it fan theory mostly, or?
It's like, yeah, it's fan theory, but at the same time, if you really look at the evidence, it's fucking good. Like it's like
Mm.
pretty believable. Like holy shit, like this might be they might be onto something here. I think
Mm.
it's I mean, like I said, it's still theory. I think they asked George Lucas about it, and he's just like, no. But but it's still a really good theory. But yeah, definitely. You have Disney Plus.
Well, getting to that Disney Plus, my I want to forget episode one because I really didn't enjoy it. My new introduction to Star Wars has been The Mandalorian, which I've been watching all up till now, and I love. I actually enjoyed it, not because of the child so much, but just overall everything, and of course our favorite Sasha Banks. She's been
Oh yeah.
2 episodes at least
Yeah.
with that suit made just for her body type. So yeah, that's also added incentive. Who'd make you think ever you'd want to fuck a Mandalorian the way she's built and she's shaped in that suit? It's really good incentive to keep watching.
I mean, it's Sasha. Like who? It's Sasha.
Yeah.
But I feel like The Mandalorian is definitely like another good intro because the I just so they have this like mini series basically behind the scenes. It's called Disney.
The making up, I
Um,
think, right?
right, it's Disney Gallery, and then
Yeah.
yeah, Star Wars, The Mandalorian, and it talks about every like it talks about from like the different perspectives of each director for each episode, where they got their inspiration from, how they all work together in collaboration, and talked about like the the world of it, the creation of like the special effects and the monsters, and then the sound and all this shit,
Mm-hmm.
and the music. And I what I come to like one thing that I grabbed from it was when Jon Favreau, who's fucking legendary as fuck, that motherfucker is amazing.
Yeah.
He I'll get into what he did later. Do you know about Jon Favreau?
Yeah. He's been. I know he's the fat guy from Iron Man. Like the, what's his name?
Did you know he directed Iron Man?
Yeah, he did. Did he do all three of them? I know he did two.
He directed the first one.
The first one. Okay. Okay. So the
Mm-hmm.
better one, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he went on to direct Jungle Book, Lion King.
Mm.
What else did he do? He basically like he's the guy. But what the sorry, let me get my words together.
It's
The place that Jon Favreau came from to step into the role of creating and directing The Mandalorian is he said, let me not be inspired by Star Wars. Let me be inspired by the things that inspired George Lucas to create Star Wars. So he went back to looking into Westerns, samurai movies, and World War II movies that George Lucas was heavily like inspired by. Because if you watch, they showed basically like a comparison of like an old Western and the original Star Wars episode 4, A New Hope. How basically like Han Solo is like a cowboy, and just the way things are shot and all that stuff. The sword fighting is very samurai, very samurai inspired. So he, with working with together with the directors of each episode, because there's Jon Favreau, is this New Zealand dude, and then these two women and this other guy, and they basically alternate in directing each episode for a specific tone for that episode, like depending on the script and like the story. And yeah, just the way they all like collaborated and got each other's ideas out and like inspirations out to like make The Mandalorian is just out of this world. Like they fucking killed it. So I definitely think like it's a good like start. When you get the chance, definitely watch the original trilogy and you'll understand like why. And then we can have a live talking about the original trilogy and I'll explain that.
Definitely. And I mean, I did get Disney Plus based off the strength of. I'm a Disney guy, sort of. I didn't see all of them. I don't love all of them.
I'm the same.
But I was curious about Mandalorian because of just the concept itself. So I'm glad I tuned in from episode 1. I was hooked. So I stayed loyal from season 1, season 2. I was up at 3:30 when this last episode dropped for season 2.
Big.
So yeah, it's a very suspenseful 40-something minutes of what happened, and even I got geeked when I guess spoilers, whatever. Luke comes back.
Yeah, I'm surprised that I was gonna ask like, what was your reaction because you never really watched Star Wars.
I mean, I'm familiar with it enough just because it was like popular culture like that. But I know Darth Vader. I know like all the main guys. I just don't know the movies or the backstories. But I know their significance and like. Luke eventually becomes bad because of whatever stuff like that. The Force is what not to be contained so easily. It will you will divulge into it or succumb to it, I guess.
What?
I mean, you go into it with good intent, but it takes over you because it is the Force anyway. I guess.
No.
Too much into it.
It's what? All right, so. It's certain urges, for example, like if you lean to like impulsively acting over like thinking about your decisions and you're one with the like if you're like talented in the Force, then you're most likely susceptible to fall to the dark side because you don't have patience and you don't have you don't have that like mainly it's the patience thing. It's it's if you're very thought out and like you're patient and you understand like you have to maybe sacrifice one thing over another, then for like the greater good, then you're gonna follow like the good path of the of the light side, but of the Force. But it's really easy to like the way we all grow up with our emotions and stuff. It's very easy for us to fall into the dark side. It's just knowing what not to do to avoid it. But Luke, definitely watch the original trilogy and you'll understand his path. And I can explain it more in depth, like once you watch it. But, I don't want to say anything more because I want you to experience the original trilogy and be like, I see like why he is as powerful as he is at the end of Mandalorian, and why he came out to rescue or take and train Grogu.
So wait,
man, you gotta watch those. You gotta watch the fucking movies, man.
Which I will now. Which I was like so caught up in the end of the season 2 finale that I'm gonna make time to see all of them. Like, now, do you recommend I do in the order it was intended, or should I just do the order they actually came out in, like all mixed up?
Do it in the order they actually came out in because, like you said, the first one never really like captured your interest to like watch the other ones. So definitely watch 4, 5, and 6, and then watch 1, 2, and 3, and then we'll talk about watching 7, 8, and 9.
Oh yeah, so then that way I'll go into episode 1 with like new eyes, I guess.
Right.
Okay, maybe appreciate it more then. Okay. That, I mean, again, because I was like virgin going into that. Like, I was waiting to get my cherry pop, but then all he did was kind of flick the wrong. They flicked like my ass cheeks or something instead. They missed entirely.
Yeah.
But damn, that's crazy though. But yeah, I'd love to have. I mean, it seems like Rob's also
He's a huge Star Wars fan too. Yeah.
a savvy. So I'd love to have you guys on some way somehow for that too, to like do Star Wars talk.
Hell yeah.
But Eddie, again, before we let you go, I do want to actually wrap things up with Kindergarten Cop, which was the main discussion here too.
Oh shit, my bad.
No, you're good. You're good. No, I'm glad you joined in. That's always good for me. It's still movie and TV because they got the Mandalorian TV and then the original line with the movies and such. Mm-hmm. Kindergarten Cop, 30 years old this year now, coming up in Christmas.
Whoa.
I did say I gave my stamp of approval as far as being still a good comedy, regardless of how old it is. It's not cheesy. It's not made for kids so much that like adults will be turned off. There's like adult themes, but not like adult. I mean, in the sense of Arnold.
Like
yeah, exactly. Jokes that everybody can get to. The kids understand, that adults appreciate too. I don't know how true this is. It might be giving too much credit to Arnold, but I read that he wanted to implement a scene where he actually dealt with, like he did, child abuse, as far as him punching the dad that was beating the kid in the class.
Whoa. Yeah.
And that's why we got that scene, which was funny and was like, I guess pleasing to see. The kid was getting beat, and then he finally steps out and like just gives the guy a gut punch by his car. But that's allegedly a part that Arnold demanded be in the script, as well as
he needs to be in there. Come on,
I need to punch him.
I need to punch him. Let's go.
And he also demanded to have scenes with the kids working out, so we can actually get that like big screen presentation of get your fat ass up in gym and actually move around. Your little
fitness is everything. Even though
because I'd say around the turn of the 90s is when like a big part of the generation got big, I guess you could say, chunky, thick.
Yeah, man, that McDonald's.
Yeah.
Everybody want McDonald's.
Everybody. I was guilty. Shit. I was 5 years old that time. I already knew what Happy Meals were, the toys, what to expect, and like even in my mom's broken English, she knew to go back in line and get at the cashier if I got the wrong toy. Some way, somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty cool about that. And overall, it's pleasing. I like that. And Arnold said himself in an interview I read, that's his favorite role out of everything he's done, considering Terminator, how huge that was, considering everything else he might have been a part of. Like, he loved playing that the most.
Where's the last time you saw that movie? Netflix? Hulu?
This week on Prime, but it's always on randomly, like here and there on TV. So it's one of those like guilty pleasures. That's a big thing for me too. Guilty pleasure meaning I see it, I have to stop and watch it.
Oh yeah.
But guilty pleasure meaning more in the realm of like let's say the first Mortal Kombat from '95.
Yeah.
It's not great. It's better than Street Fighter. That was a bad movie. But even Street
Fighter one, but yeah.
But Street Fighter, I will watch it for some reason when it's on, just because it is that bad, to me at least. And Jean-Claude Van Damme, I was a huge fan of, and somehow he's playing an American commando, Colonel whatever guy. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's fine. But yeah, I mean, the fact that it's that old, this movie, Kindergarten Cop, I mean, it's crazy to think it's still something I can sit down and enjoy. How do you feel about it overall? Just to, like, kind of in a nutshell about Kindergarten Cop.
Yeah, man, it's a lot of like what is it? How do you say that word? Memorable lines in it.
Yeah.
Who was the kid in the movie? Wasn't he like? Damn, who's the kid in the movie? He was like became like a well-known child star like after that movie too.
You mean like the blonde kid, the one that was the kid that had the mom that was a teacher?
The main kid.
Yeah, the blonde kid that had his mom was a teacher he was going out with or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I gotta rewatch the movie. But yes, I remember seeing that movie like 3 or 4 times when I was younger. Like it would come up on like TBS and shit, and
Yeah.
I would stop everything to watch it because that movie was great. It's a classic. That's crazy. 30 years. How many years?
It came out in 1990, so 30 years this Christmas, actually. Coming up.
Dope. Cool.
Yeah. So it's worthy of celebrating. I mean, again, it's one of those still, I guess, intended for children, but overall, it's for the whole family to enjoy. It's Arnold. It's good fun. We all laugh at the accent if everything else fails. It's all right, you know. Just like Jean-Claude had his words he couldn't pronounce in all his films, and he never wanted anybody to even. That was the thing I brought up earlier. How Jean-Claude, how Arnold, how all these other guys, like even Sylvester Stallone when he did Rocky, like they're all endearing in the way they talk, I guess, with the accent. Yeah, and you know, Rocky, he didn't have a foreign accent, but he had like a dopey accent, you know. He got punched too many times. He played too well that role. Because in that time frame, when you would catch him in the interview in real life, he would talk similar enough to Rocky, like not too far apart.
Hey, man.
Yeah, oh, it's fun doing the move. Far remove who I am.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But then eventually he corrected himself to not be associated with that. But Jean-Claude, in comparison to Arnold, never had his accent addressed in the movie. In Kindergarten Cop, Arnold does have it addressed and have it made fun of. So he had no problem with it, and I guess he's owning up to the fact that I have an accent, but it's not stopping me from being a movie star of all things. So why not?
True. The real Super Nitro
Yeah.
says that movie sucked. LOL.
Well, I don't know how recent that comment is, so who knows which one he's referring to, but I would hope he's talking about Street Fighter. That did suck. That was a bad movie.
Yeah, it was a bad movie.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat again. Yeah, like I was saying earlier too, Mortal Kombat is a guilty pleasure. I'll actually watch that gladly, just because it wasn't terrible, but it was cool. It was like the first of its kind at that time, and you know, Mortal Kombat the game, it just came out like you weren't born yet, obviously, but 2 years removed from the game coming out, and that changed everybody's world. You know.
Word.
Did you ever see the first Mortal Kombat or?
Yeah, I recently watched it. I realized when I watched it, I think it was like 2 months ago. I was just realized it was the first time I actually fully watched it, because I would watch like bits and pieces when I was a kid.
Yeah,
and I feel like, yeah, it was all right. Like the special effects and like the sets and stuff.
Yeah,
they were pretty fucking good for the time. There's like a good amount of money put into that movie. Definitely, like the storyline is just like, I guess, and like some of the actors, but besides that, like visually, it's pretty good. I enjoyed it.
If you want a bad movie, though, I forget what the second one's called exactly. I think
Annihilation.
Annihilation.
Like that.
That is bad.
That shit is fucking terrible. From what I hear.
That was no effort in the special effects at all. They like, it might have been half the budget. If anything, it was bad.
What is, I might be wrong on this, but is that movie the one where they're in like the forest and this motherfucker reptile sends out Scorpion sends out his thing? Was it the first one or the second one?
That was the first one.
That was the first one.
Where the snake creature looked especially bad and like.
See, that was like a letdown. But the fight scene in that fucking, where the hell were they? They were like, it looked like they were on like a pirate ship / like construction site / like
with red lighting. Yeah.
Yeah, that fight scene I really enjoyed.
Cool.
That was a sick fight scene, but yeah, that part I wasn't a fan of.
I was mad at that fight scene though, because of all things, Johnny Cage wins in like Scorpion's home turf.
Is he considered like? Yeah, he's like the main character. He has to win. But yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, no, but do you remember the fight though? Like I mean, Scorpion does put up a good, convincing fight. He's beaten him for most of the time. But then Johnny Cage, of course, he somehow gets so genius to beat like almost a god of sorts, or like a skeleton full of magma, like we find out Scorpion was underneath the mask.
Shit, I'm like drawing a blank now of that part.
I think
What's
because the
the
more, I'm
what's the
sorry, bro.
scenery?
What's the
What's
what?
the scene? Like, what's the set, the scenery?
Oh well, that's the one we're talking about. The one with like the red lighting. It looks kind of hellish, whatever.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
What was the question to that?
You know what I'm saying? That got me upset whenever I see that movie. Is the fact that Johnny, of all people, beat Scorpion.
Oh
Like,
yeah, word. That motherfucker's so powerful. Like,
at least it wasn't with
Scorpion.
ease. Like, he didn't just like blow him out the water, but
Right.
it wasn't convincing even the fact after that he beat him. Scorpion
Mhm.
got his licks in, but then like he ends up winning. He ends up losing to Johnny Cage, of all people.
Definitely. I feel like with the way Reptile and like Scorpion was Sub-Zero in that movie,
Yeah, he got it was him and Liu Kang, I think.
they were
In
all
the
like
temple.
kind of like on the same level set where they would all get beaten equally. Like, they're not, from what I'm like interpreting or
Yeah,
remembering what I interpreted.
and if you go back and watch it, actually, I noticed this the last time I saw it. Sub-Zero, because of special effects at times is 95 of all times. Instead of like, let's say doing like a ninja flip in or sliding in on like some ice like we're probably doing outside now, like just all over the place, getting up balance and shit. They could
Yeah.
have done that for comic relief. Of all things, they do like the computer graphics effects of like a whole little ice bridge coming from the roof. And he does like a gay like little Fabio sliding all the way in. It's suspect. It's really sus the way it comes in.
I will look up that scene again, because yeah.
But it's computer graphics, it's bad wiring, all that stuff for him, and it just kind of like, you know.
No, yeah.
Liu Kang with the good hair wins on top of that too, which is okay. I mean, Liu Kang was cool, but
Yeah.
You can't be fighting that whole tournament like your life's on the line in each match, and you got that good a fucking head of hair on top of that. It's like all silky and voluptuous and everything.
Right. In that movie, one thing that confused me was it was Liu Kang and the girl, I think. And they enter this room where there's like, it's like the throne, and like there's like food laid out, and that's where Goro, or whatever the fuck that guy, motherfucker. Look, I have the shadow like double arms. So his throne was there. Something happened where they're like, oh, we gotta go through this passageway, like the secret shit. They go in through this thing, and then they just come right back into the same room and then have a fight. And I'm like, I gotta rewatch it as to why they did that, but that fucking shit blew my mind. Like, I was like, why did they do that? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. It kind of just like flashes back to it too, like somehow.
It is weird, but yeah.
There was a bunch of Spanish mothers like gritting their teeth at that scene too. Of all places to fight in the kitchen or by the table. Always said like that. Carajo, de puta.
Vete de aquí. Yeah, right.
Vete coño.
That's funny.
But I'd actually love to talk about that too, like in depth another time. After Star Wars, we got to do Star Wars justice, or at least I got to give Star Wars a chance. Betty had said.
Yeah, man, I'm very surprised you haven't seen that. That's crazy.
But Mandalorian is my actual gateway into now. I have to watch Star Wars. I'm like,
yeah, man, you're definitely like, with the things that you saw in The Mandalorian, you're gonna be like, that meme of Leonardo DiCaprio fucking pointing at shit?
Yeah.
For a Star Wars fan that like seen all the movies, when you watch Mandalorian, you're just like, oh shit, I know where that's from. Or oh shit, that's that thing. You're gonna be you're gonna be, for watching Mandalorian, you're gonna be like, oh, that's that thing from Mandalorian. For example, in the first season where Grogu gets caught and like he's like passed out in like that bed thing where there's like they're analyzing him and shit.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
this ball, there's this black ball thing, like this robot thing, this sphere,
Mm-hmm.
and it has this needle coming in. Remember that when you watch episode 4.
A New Hope, right? You
Mm-hmm.
said?
You're gonna be
Okay.
like, oh, that's that thing. Yep. And then just other things.
Hmm.
Throughout Mandalorian, they like revisited and kind of like re-showed. Like in Mandalorian, they go into the cantina
Mm-hmm.
where there's robots and stuff, like the servers, and he's like, I can't remember what he says, but he's there to meet this like bounty hunter or whatever to look for this woman.
Yeah.
And they sit at this specific spot in the cantina. You'll know the spot in the cantina in episode 4. So definitely go
Okay.
watch Star Wars. I'll let you, finish up the live, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just to put a cap on it, Kindergarten Cop was the main focus, just for the cause of it turning 30 of all things. So, virtual claps for Kindergarten Cop. Yeah, you're cheeky enough to do it, Yeah, good movie. Check that out. Very soon now, thinking to Eddie, we will be doing one for Star Wars overall.
Let's
Or if you
go.
had to pick, one of the films from Star Wars, which one would you like to go in depth about? After I confirm I've seen them all.
My favorite is the episode 4, but you're gonna see episode 5 is gonna be like, yo, this movie is the tits. Yeah, episode 5 is like holy grail of Star Wars.
Oh, wait a second. Are you talking about
technically
Dr. Miami tits or like a nice, like Ample said, a natural D-cup tits that just stayed good until 35 and only drooped after 40?
Let's say the second one, the natural ones.
Okay, they drooped after 40, plus they had a good long run. Gravity was kind up until a point. And it said, yoink.
Miami's very. It's like it's gonna be good for a while, but the natural,
superficial.
Yeah.
You don't want
that. Oh man, the fucking Empire Strikes Back. You're gonna be like, whoa, this movie's sick, and then you're gonna go into Return of the Jedi, like, or you're gonna watch it and you're gonna be like, okay, that makes sense. I kind of prefer Empire Strikes Back, but I like this too. Yeah, definitely 4 is gonna be like, yo, that was fucking incredible, and for 1977, everything that they did for the time, fucking nuts. Empire Strikes Back, you're just gonna be like, holy shit, and then Return of the Jedi, you're gonna be like, that was sick too for 1983. Yeah.
Nice.
Enough about that.
No, you're good. You're good,
watch
bro.
That.
I told you before off air, I've been meaning to get you back on for just Eddie. You've been featured by and featured with so many others. It's just time to give the platform to you properly.
Thanks.
And you're still due for a solo episode. I still definitely want to do that, but hopefully you recoup first properly from the vid.
Especially. Yeah, word.
Yeah. So no flicking any other foreign clits besides your guitar. Right? Not for like another week and a half.
It's true. Yeah.
Please be a good boy.
I will.
Or try your best.
Probably. Yeah.
Try your best, Mr. Bullring Man.
Happy anniversary to Kindergarten Cop. I'm gonna go watch that. It's on Prime. You sure it's on Prime? Is it on Prime?
Yeah, I had to rent it though, but it's on Prime to rent.
Okay, rent on Prime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but shout out to Kindergarten Cop, Arnold, of course. This has been another installment of Who This Been Watching. Again, it's an excuse to do another podcast or ranting and bitching and whatever I else got to moan about, like a moose lost in the wild looking for its mother. I can't be banned because I'm not that soft and I'm not that cute either, even though the hat might make you think otherwise. A moose just because I'm overgrown and bellowing and moaning half the time. But guess what? My girlfriend can start bitching about other things if she hates it that much. You know what? She's Russian. She can go find another Russian cup to find and be with. Leave me alone. Let me free. Set me free and let me roam the land of the free, the home of the brave. But you know what? Who This Been Watching? Thanks to Eddie the Tech, of course, for joining Star Wars talk, Mortal Kombat talk, all kinds of talk, even Kindergarten Cop talk. We made time for that. He'll be back soon. I'll be back soon enough with him. Shout outs to Rod. Shout outs to Super Nitro. Shout outs to everybody else that joined in that I can't see your names right now because my vision's starting to go. I'm getting older. I'm in my mid-30s, believe it or not. My crow's feet might tell you otherwise. I might say I'm older. But still, my forehead's showing and revealing. I'm trying to cover it with the hat besides the fact I'm losing my hair. You know what? That's the only downfall of every good Spanish man who stands his ground until, like, that first strand of hair starts to leave here, then it starts going farther back. I didn't want to allude to you, Eddie. You know, it happens to the best of us. It's God slowly saying, hey, relax. Put an emphasis on it. Time is cruel. But what's crueler is the time we got to wait until the next episode of Who This Been Watching. Shout outs again to Eddie the Tech. Much love to everybody who joined in the comments. And this will be up on the YouTube and download via your DSP's podcast form in the next couple of days. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time. Ed, much love, brother. Get well soon. Beat that COVID's ass, and then flick all the clits you need to as a basis certified. Expert.
Let's go.
Bro.
Thank you,
God
bro.
love you.
Appreciate that.
Love you, bro. Take care.
Bye, you. Later.
Later, man.